Ancient Britain, according to Roman chroniclers like Caesar, Herodian and Cassius Dio, was a pretty desolate place, and they were writing around 3 centuries apart, by the way, but it was filled with marshes, swamps and mountains. But as a result of this, the people were pretty hardy. For instance, they walked around naked and spent hours, if not days, in swamps and marshes, sometimes neck deep. One reason they would walk around naked is because armor would sort of slow them down walking through the swamps, but they also wanted to show off their tattoos and woad paint. But they did make jewellery out of iron, and iron was highly prized in ancient Britain and served as a sort of currency. Plus, they would also shave all the hair on their body except for their moustache and that on their head, which they would grow long. But otherwise, they did have some strange customs. For instance, Caesar said that the British would breed hare and geese, but they wouldn't kill them because they believed that to be unlawful. Otherwise, they did often just share wives, some even having 10 or so in common. They were, however, in Kent at least, which Caesar believed to be the least barbaric place in Britain, good seamen, and they would often plunder the coast of what is now modern-day Belgium and Netherlands in order to get goods. And they were somewhat democratic, and they would just choose the most bold and brave and strongest man to be their ruler. But outside of war, they did very little to impress the Romans. For instance, shortly after the Roman invasion, one Roman thought that the British would make pretty bad slaves because they weren't trained in letters, poetry and music. But that's not to say that they weren't slaves. For instance, Strabo said that slaves, as well as dogs, grain and iron, were the island's chief exports. But again, he didn't seem very impressed by the ancient British slaves. He said that they were inexperienced in things like agriculture and cheese making, and said that they were more simplistic and barbaric than, say, the Gauls. But he did say that they were some of the tallest people in ancient Rome, and even the young people would tower at least half a foot above anyone else in the city.